Okay, let's get going here. So this session is going to focus on the first assignment in week 2. So what I'm going to do is open House Design Part 1 PDF. I've got that open here. It's a 4-page tutorial with about, 16 steps. And we're going to gradually go through each one of them. So next thing I'm going to do is I downloaded the House Design Part 1 Revit file. That's right here. I'm going to click Open. I'm going to let it upgrade the model. Okay, sometimes it takes a little while. Just let it finish. You don't have to upgrade it. To be honest, I haven't tried what happens if you don't upgrade it, but I would just suggest you do if it doesn't take too long. Okay, and it should just be a blank document without anything in it. So here we go. We're going to go to the first step of House Design Part 1. Start a new project. We've opened that up. Click the Grid button under the Architecture tab and draw the shown horizontal grid lines. So that's grid line 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I know that's kind of out of order, but we can rename those in a minute as you'll see in the next few steps. From top to bottom, the grid lines should be spaced 2,000, 4,000, 2,000, 4,000, and 6,000 millimeters apart. So that's basically indicating the spacing between these grid lines. So first of all, since it's in millimeters, let's just make sure our drawing is set up correctly. I believe the button you hit to pull that up is U, and then enter. So let me try that again here. U, enter. Okay, so now we're in project units. Let's keep it in common. It seems to be the most appropriate. Everything is basically in millimeters and so forth. So we're fine. Here, if you do want to change it, you can change it to decimal inches, fractional inches, all kinds of other stuff. And I believe you can change them individually. So for instance, you could have length in imperial and area and volume in metric. Not sure why you'd want that, but this is where you can manipulate that. So let's hit OK. The grid, so up here again in your ribbon, we're going to explore a little bit further down under datum, and we're going to click grid. So I'm going to click that, and I'm just going to start from left to right, click again, hit escape. I've got a grid line. Now I can either continue, so the next grid line is supposed to be 2,000 below. So I can either click grid again and sort of stretch this out till it gets to 2,000, click, and proceed to the end, click again. And don't worry too much about the length of these lines. You can always click them and stretch them further individually or together, however you wish. Or you can even pull them further this way if you prefer. Or if you want to stretch it back to 2,000, you don't have to do it by grabbing it and gripping it. You just click here, 2,000, done. Okay, now the other way we can do this is we can copy the line. So let me just, the next size is 4,000. So we're going to go back to Revit. Let's click copy. Okay, copy, it's been a while. Let's click this. Okay, so first you have to click it, then we get the copy button. Okay, and now I'm going to click it here and simply show it the direction I want it to go, type in 4,000, and we're done. And I can do so again. Let me just check the distance, 2,000, 4,000, 6,000. So I'm going to finish up the next 3. Copy, directly down, 2,000, copy, 4,000, and one more, 6,000. Okay, so we've got 1 to 6. Let's see if they are the correct spacing though. I believe they are, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a dimension line just to check. So, oops, sorry about that. Let's go to annotate. let's go to aligned dimension, and I'm just going to click from here to here, to here, to here, 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 and one more click just to set it where I want it to be. And now I'm going to hit escape. Now, just as an aside, if you were to click on this, you can see a little lock on each one of these. And if I, for instance, say I want to lock this one, it means that this always stays 2000. So if I grab this and now I want to pull it, I can pull it, but it's going to pull the third line with it because this always has to stay 2000. So I'm going to hit Control Z and undo. We're going to cover that more later, this idea of locking certain lines, and to unlock it, just click it again. But I just wanted to tell you what that is because, you know, you obviously can see it. You may wonder what it is. I want you guys to sort of be aware of everything as we're moving forward. Now, one last thing you can see here is a little EQ with a line through it. That means, I believe it stands for equivalent. So if I were to click it, it's going to make the spacing equivalent between all of these. Boom. There we go. And that will change if I were to drag this bottom one and make it tighter. They will all adjust to be equivalent. Again, I'm going to hit Control Z, undo. Control Z one more time, undo that. And so what we're starting there with those little locking buttons and the equivalent button, that's kind of, you're already seeing just a little bit of how the parametric modeling can work. We can start to link these variables together so that one change influences others and you kind of get this cascading set of changes. It's very convenient to do and it saves a lot of time when you do it properly, but you got to do it properly or else you click one thing and everything else kind of goes bananas. So enough talking from me. Let's continue. Click the grid button and draw the shown vertical grid lines from left to right. The grid lines should be 4,000, 4,000, 4,000, 6,000, and 4,000 apart. So let's head back to Revit, back to architecture, grid. Okay, I'm going to click copy. I have a terrible memory. 44464. Okay, let's just get those done. So I'm going to select this, copy, 4, copy, 4, copy 6, and one more 4,000, I believe. Okay, 4, 4. I think I missed one. Did I mess it up? Yep, sure did. Okay, so I'm going to copy this first one backwards just to make up for it. 4, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and now this gives us an interesting problem. These are all now too short. So what I'm going to do, sometimes it'll stretch all of them at once. So I'm going to select one of them, just grab that grip and stretch it. Now it's stretched all of them. If you only want to stretch an individual one, I believe you just click it twice. Nope. Anyway, I'll find out how to stretch just an individual one later. I don't want to take up your time with it now. Now let's say you accidentally make a mistake and you start your grid line the wrong way. Okay, so instead of starting from here to here, I start it from here to here, and now my bubble is on the other side. I'm going to delete that. It's a pretty easy fix. Just click the line. And as you can see, there's a little box with a check mark here. If I uncheck that, I lose the bubble. If I check it over here, I gain the bubble there. If I check it on both sides, you get everything. So anyway, I'm going to uncheck that, but that's how you can switch where the annotation occurs. Double click the numbers on the vertical grid lines to rename them with letters A through F. Okay, so we want this. I'm going to put caps lock on A, B, whoops, double click it, C, D, E, F. Okay, so now we've got our grid lines there. I am actually going to stretch these a little bit, kind of make the neck of the last part of it a little bit longer so I can fit a grid line in there, just so we can see what we're doing. Annotation, aligned, and I'm just going to click every single one, and one more click to drop it. There we go. 44464. Let's check that one more time. 44464. Done. All right, we're in business. So let's move on to the second page. Resize the grid lines to make them more compact. Okay, so we've kind of already covered this. I don't think we have to resize much here. It's fairly compact. So we're going to move on. Again, if you want to resize them, click them. You can stretch them up or down to do whatever you like. Under the Architecture tab, select Wall. Check to make sure the wall's properties indicate that it is a basic wall, generic 200 millimeters. Okay, so here we go. We're going to start drawing some walls. Architecture, click the Wall button. Now it's already set to the wall we want. Basic wall, generic 200 millimeters. Okay, again, we've got a whole bunch of walls to pick from here. Let's just, before we move on, let's just kind of explore these a little bit. So let's say we pick exterior brick on concrete masonry units, or brick and block on metal stud. Which one would make the most sense? We don't have a generic wood stud one here. Let's go brick on concrete masonry unit. So this is it's not typical for house construction because concrete masonry units are concrete blocks, so about 200 millimeters wide or 8-inch concrete block. And then it looks like it's got a couple of layers of other things on there and a brick veneer. So maybe you would have this in a commercial building, or you might have it as a kind of a residential foundation wall that sticks above the ground, because often foundation walls are built out of concrete block or poured concrete. But you know, if it sticks above the ground, let's say 1/2 meter, you still want it to have a nice brick veneer just like the rest of the house. So this might be the type of wall you see used for a basement on a house or some kind of commercial construction. Oops, I'm just going to go back a sec. If you go to edit type, you get a whole bunch more info about the wall. So this stuff may not seem particularly useful right now. We're not really going to cover any of this semester. Thermal mass, resistance, so forth. This is relatively advanced stuff, but if you click on structure and you hit edit, here you kind of have the layers that make up the wall. So for instance, finish, brick, common, 90 millimeters, thermal air barrier, substrate, rigid insulation, damp proof layer, concrete masonry, 190 millimeter thickness, furring, which is the metal channels that you put on concrete walls so you can then attach gypsum wallboard, which is drywall. So all of these things are here, and you can play with them if you want. I mean, I'm not suggesting you should in this case, but let's say you want it to be a different type of brick. Let's say it's 120 millimeters. You can change it, and the wall will update. I'm going to change it back before I head out, or you can you can uncheck or delete. Sorry, to get rid of stuff. You can flat out delete a line, or you can insert a new one and label it something else. Now I'm going to hit cancel because I don't want it to save the changes I made. Hopefully I didn't save it. All right, we're good. But if you do want to mess with stuff, what I suggest you do first is you duplicate it. So edit type, oops, what did I do here? Escape, edit type. Okay, wall. Here we go. Edit type. Duplicate. We can say test wall. Oops, take it off caps. Test to set. I can't spell. Okay, test wall. Okay, and now you can mess around with it. You can delete stuff, add things without hesitation, and then if you want to go back to your original wall, let's say you messed this one up, you just kind of scroll back up top, exterior brick on concrete masonry unit, and you're back in business. But anyway, I digressed a little bit there, just wanted to give you some more context. So now, under number 6, under the Architecture tab, select Wall. Check to make sure the wall's properties indicated is a basic wall, generic 200 millimeters. I think we've already seen that one in here. Generic 300 mil, 200. There we go. So we've got our wall selected. Oops, I went a bit too far here. Draw 4 walls. So from 1A to 1F, 4F, 4A, and back. Just a big rectangle. So 1A, I'm going to start there, to 1F, 4A, oops, 4F, 4A, close this thing up, and hit enter, and escape after that. Okay, so we've got some walls. Change the wall selection to basic wall, interior 123 millimeter partition. Okay, so let's go back. Wall. Now we want to switch, these are exterior walls. Okay, they're not very detailed right now because we're just getting a generic 200 millimeter wall. We don't know what's in it, but we can change that later. But now we want to go to 123 millimeter interior partition, which I believe would be something like an 89 millimeter joist, stud, which is 89 by 38 millimeters, I believe, is in millimeters, is the same as a 2x4 nominal size, with a layer of drywall on each side. So it's like an typical interior partition wall you'd find inside of a house. Let's go down to 9, and we want to basically build out these squares in 6 places. So that's weird. Why do these look like squares? Oh, my grid is mislabeled. Okay, so I'm gonna go back and fix that. These numbers are labeled differently than I have it set up, so I need to shift the entire thing down by 1. So this gives us a good opportunity to see the parametric design in play. So what I'm going to try to do, and I believe it'll work, I'm going to stretch this wall down like so, and as you can see, it automatically extends the side walls. I'm going to grab this top wall, stretch that sucker down, and we're back in business. All right, wall, 123 millimeter interior wall, done. And we go. 1 square. Second room. And I'm hitting escape after I'm done drawing these walls. So 3 clicks, escape. But I don't hit escape twice because that would exit the command completely. Escape. I apologize if you hear my kid yelling in the back. Okay, there we go. So we've got our walls up. Now, draw a wall between grid line B and C 700 mil below the grid line. So to do that, between B and C, 700 milliliters below, millimeters, not milliliters. You know what? I'm just going to draw it straight on that grid line. And now I'm going to click. Oh shit. All right, that didn't work out the way I wanted to. So let's try it again. Maybe I'll zoom in. What I was going to do is draw a separate wall and move it down by 700 millimeters. But what happened is it automatically connected those walls together. There's a way to break that up and undo it, but it's going to take more clicks than the other method, which would just be to stretch this down till I see 700, click, click, done. Now let's say I missed. I'm going to delete this. Let's say I was a bit sloppy with my mouse and I did it at 1000. Oops. Now I click this and it'll give me these, what are they called? They're called, they have a name, these dimensions. I forget what it is at the moment. I'll tell you the right name later. But basically they're like temporary dimensions or something like that. But when you click any element, whoops, it'll give you a bunch of these temporary dimensions and you can change them. So what I'm going to do here is I actually want this number to be 700. So I'm going to click it, type 700, done. And there is, right now we're just doing it the generic way it's set up. So it's center line, which means the center of this wall to the center of this wall is where it's taking that dimension from. But later on in these settings, I'll show you where you can change these grips so they go from the interior face, exterior face, or the center line of walls. So there's different ways you can work with these temporary dimensions as you get more experienced with it. But for now, we're going to leave it at that. I'm just trying to get you guys familiar with how to draw in Revit, and then we can work on the nuances as we get more experience. Draw a room 1,600 wide at the left side of the building. Okay, so I'm going to hold down, to move, I'm holding down the scroll button. That's the little wheel button on your mouse and just dragging. Here we go. So we want it to be 1600. Again, I'm not going to try to be a sniper and pick exactly 1600. I'm just going to click on this, punch in the number I want, make your life easy. You know, your time is valuable, so make it count. Draw the same 1600 millimeter room on the right side of the building. Zoom out, pan over. Click that. 1600, done. Okay, so we're on page 4 of 4. Go to the Architecture tab and select Architectural Column. So, let's zoom out a little, see what we got. Okay. Architecture tab. Now column, I can just click it, but I'm going to make sure I want to select the Architecture column. So I'm going to click the little arrow under it, expand that. And in this case, I'll explain the difference between structural column and architectural column later. Structural column gives us some different properties than architectural, but for now we want architectural. So let's click that. And you can select the type of column you want here. Right now we only have 2 loaded. 475 by 610, 610 by 610. So what does this thing want us to do? Okay, draw the shown columns. It doesn't specify, and that's okay for now, I think, because I'm going to show you, it'll allow me to show you one other thing. Wait a minute, where do they want the columns? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2 at the front. Okie dokie. So I'm going to do 4 at the back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 at the front. Okay, hit escape. Let me just see if it wants anything else done. Click the default view, save your okay. So now we put in the rectangular ones. Okay, so not the square ones. But what I can do, even in this view if I want, I can click the column and I can just change it. And now it's the other type. So at this point it doesn't really matter what type of column it has to be because we can always change it later. Now also at this point we have quite a few lines starting to emerge on this drawing. So maybe we want to change to consistent colors, make it a little bit easier to see. Now another thing, let's go to the 3D view, see what we drew. Looks a bit wonky. These exterior walls are extremely high. Let's go to consistent colors. So what happened is we didn't connect these walls here, automatically connected top constraint up to level 2. So level 2 is where we have the second floor at this point. It's 4,000 millimeters above ground level. But the exterior walls didn't connect to that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click one of the exterior walls, and where it says top constraint, I'm going to change it to up to level 2. Apply. Okay, and that fixes that. Or I can click all of them. So I'm going to hold down Shift, Control. You can see a little bit of a plus sign next to my cursor, where when I hold down Control. When I hold down Shift, it's a minus sign. So if I click this while holding Shift, it should unselect it. There we go. But I want to select more than one. So I'm going to click this, hold down Control, this one, top constraint, level 2, apply. There we go. And now I can scroll around and see what we've built. I believe that's it. Save your project. So let's go File, Save As, Template. That's strange. It should have let us save it as project, but for now we'll save it as template. I'm just going to save it under desktop. And that's it. That concludes the first part of the lesson in week 2.